The great chamber of the Galactic Council was a place of silence and power. It was said that the voices inside could shape the fate of entire worlds. Delegates from hundreds of species gathered there, each believing they were wise, advanced, and superior in their own way. But that day the chamber was restless, for standing in the center on the speaking platform was a human delegate, and his words carried a weight that made even the air seem heavy. The human did not shout. He did not beg. His voice was calm, but each sentence struck like a warning bell. "We do not want war," he said slowly. "But if you push us, if you provoke us, if you try to take from us, you will regret it. Humanity will not kneel. Humanity will not break." The other species exchanged glances. Some chuckled. Others rolled their eyes. A few looked uneasy, remembering past encounters with humans, encounters that had not gone as planned. But most in that chamber believed the same thing. Humans were young, reckless, and fragile compared to the great civilizations of the galaxy. What could Earth possibly do against empires that had existed for thousands of years? The council speaker, an ancient being with skin like stone, leaned forward. "Human delegate," it said. "Are you threatening the galaxy?" The man shook his head. His expression remained calm. "No, we are warning you. Do not provoke us. Leave us in peace." The words echoed through the chamber, and then came the yar. Laughter, deep, mocking laughter from the delegates of the powerful empires. They whispered among themselves, calling humans dramatic, calling them foolish, calling them children who did not know their place. But not everyone laughed. In the corner of the chamber, a few silent figures watched carefully. These were species who had seen humans up close, who had fought against them in border skirmishes, who had studied Earth's history. They knew what the others did not. They knew humans had a pattern. Humans endured, humans adapted, and when pushed too far, humans struck back with a fury that left scars for generations. Still, the warnings were dismissed. Reports from the human colonies about alien raids were ignored. Complaints about stolen trade routes were buried under politics. And when a small group of empires formed a coalition to discipline Earth, the Council allowed it. After all, the galaxy thought humans needed to be shown their place. The human delegate gave one last speech before leaving the chamber. His eyes scanned the room, meeting the gaze of every species present, and with a calm, steady voice, he said, "You think we are weak. You think we are small. But remember this. Humans do not forget. Humans do not forgive. And when the day comes, when you finally understand what we are, it will be too late." Silence fell. No laughter followed this time. Some felt a chill run through them, though they could not explain why. Others waved it away, pretending the words meant nothing. But the seed of unease had been planted. After the human left, the council broke into arguments. Some shouted that Earth was a threat that must be contained. Others said humans were nothing to fear, a minor species with loud words but little strength. The debate went on for hours, but in the end, the decision was made. The warnings would be ignored. Far across the stars, fleets were already moving. Alien warships gathered at the edges of human space, their commanders confident that the campaign would be easy. They spoke of conquest, of resources, of glory. They believed Earth would kneel in weeks, and they believed the Council would thank them for silencing the noisy humans. But deep inside the minds of a few, doubts remained. One old council member remembered something strange he had once read in Earth's history. He remembered tales of ancient wars when humans had faced impossible odds and still survived. He remembered reading of cities burned to ashes, yet rebuilt stronger. He remembered that humans had a strange way of turning weakness into strength. He tried to speak, tried to remind the chamber of those lessons, but his words were drowned in noise. The empires were too eager, too certain, too arrogant. They believed they knew the truth of humanity, but they were wrong. In that moment, the fate of the galaxy shifted, By ignoring the warnings, by dismissing the words of one calm human, they had set events in motion that could not be undone. The council chamber returned to silence, unaware that history would remember this day as the day the galaxy sealed its own doom. And somewhere far away on Earth, humans prepared quietly. They did not shout. They did not make threats. They simply waited. And when the time came, the galaxy would understand the meaning of those words. Do not provoke us. The first raids came quietly, like shadows in the night. Alien fleets slipped into human territory, their commanders full of confidence and pride. They targeted outlying colonies, small distant worlds far from Earth. To the empires, these were nothing more than fragile settlements waiting to be claimed. They believed the humans would cry, complain, and then surrender. On the colony world of Hallstrom, the first attack fell. Alien warships broke through the skies, their weapons raining fire upon cities and farms. The people of Hallstrom fought back, with everything they had: small defense fleets, ground troops, and civilian volunteers. But against the alien armada, their resistance was crushed within days. The survivors were chained and paraded as proof of the Coalition's strength. The Coalition leaders sent a message to the Galactic Council. The human frontier is ours. They are too weak to resist. The chamber filled with applause. Some delegates laughed and congratulated the invaders, saying the humans would now understand their place. The Council's earlier warnings seemed ridiculous in that moment, nothing more than empty words from a desperate species. But not everyone joined the celebration. A few delegates sat silent, their eyes heavy with worry. They had seen something troubling in the reports. Despite overwhelming force, the humans of Hallstrom had fought fiercely. Even when defeat was certain, they had refused to surrender. They fought until their weapons broke, until their defenses fell, until they were dragged away in chains. That kind of defiance was not normal. It was dangerous. Still, the Coalition pushed further. More colonies were attacked, more settlements destroyed. Each time, humans fought back with everything they had. Farmers picked up rifles. Children carried messages through burning streets. Pilots rammed their damaged ships into enemy cruisers, taking enemies down with them. The aliens called it foolishness. They laughed at the waste of life. But slowly, quietly, fear began to spread among the lower soldiers. They whispered that humans were not like others. In the council chamber, the human delegate returned only once. His face was cold, his words sharper than before. You let this happen. You ignored the warning. You think we are weak, but you will see the truth soon. The chamber erupted with voices mocking him. One alien lord stood and sneered. The truth is already clear. Humanity is nothing. The human's eyes lingered on him for a moment, and then he left without another word. That silence unsettled even those who mocked him. Meanwhile, Earth remained still. The heart of humanity gave no reply, no message of surrender, no desperate plea for peace. The silence itself became a weapon, feeding unease into the galaxy. The empires expected panic, yet what they saw was only quiet preparation. Human fleets stopped moving, borders sealed, colonies pulled back behind defenses, and still no one understood what it meant. The Coalition interpreted the silence as fear. They told themselves Earth was breaking, that humanity was too shocked to fight back. They mistook patience for weakness, and in their arrogance, they marched deeper, hungry for more. On the world of Lorien, something unusual happened. As the alien fleet approached, human settlers evacuated in perfect order. They left behind traps, mines hidden in space, ambush ships cloaked in darkness. The invaders laughed at the resistance, but many of their ships never returned. Rumors spread quickly. The humans are planning something. Commanders dismissed the rumors. They said it was impossible. A young species like humanity could never match the ancient powers of the galaxy. Their victories at Hallstrom and others blinded them to the truth. They believed strength was measured only in numbers, in ships, in weapons. They did not see that. Humanity's greatest weapon was something else entirely: patience, memory, and the will to survive. The spark of arrogance burned brighter with each conquest. The coalition leaders toasted to their victories. They saw themselves as heroes, conquerors, who would be remembered for breaking humanity. They promised their people that Earth itself would soon kneel before them. But the Galaxy Council sat uneasily. Some remembered the words of the human delegate. Some remembered the long silence. And a few whispered what no one dared say aloud. What if humanity is waiting? In the shadows, Earth's preparations grew. Fleets were being built in secret shipyards. Weapons never before seen were being tested. Humanity did not announce its strength. It did not show its hand. It simply waited. And in that waiting, a storm began to gather. Silent, invisible, unstoppable. The coalition believed they were breaking humanity. But in truth, they were only feeding the fire. The spark of arrogance had been lit. Soon the galaxy would learn how dangerous it was to underestimate the humans. The galaxy had expected noise, loud protests, desperate pleas, even cries for help. That was how weaker species reacted when empires pressed against them. But after the raids, after the burned colonies and broken fleets, humanity did not scream. Humanity went quiet. This silence unsettled the galaxy more than any battle could. Messages from Earth grew rare. Human ambassadors stopped speaking in the council. Trade ships vanished from common routes. It was as if the humans had stepped back into the shadows, watching, waiting. The coalition empires told themselves this was fear. They convinced their people that humanity had finally accepted defeat. But deep down, a few commanders felt something else: dread. Strange reports began to arrive from the frontier. Patrol ships sent into human space failed to return. Fleets that crossed too far found only wreckage drifting in the dark. Ships broken apart by weapons no one could identify. Some wrecks looked burned as if melted from the inside. Others were sliced cleanly in half. And always, there were no survivors. At first, the coalition claimed these were accidents. They said humans were destroying their own ships to make the coalition afraid. But whispers spread through their lower ranks. Soldiers who had fought humans before told old stories. Stories of a species that never gave up, that always found a way to strike back. The silence of humanity was beginning to feel less like surrender, and more like a trap. On the colony of Eridan, alien soldiers celebrated victory in the streets. They mocked the human prisoners, calling them broken and weak. But that night, a strange signal passed through the sky. It was a human transmission, short and cold. Remember this. Within hours, the alien barracks exploded in flames. No one ever discovered how the humans did it. The message was clear. Humanity had not forgotten. The council grew restless. Some members demanded that the coalition stop pushing further, warning that the silence was dangerous. Others shouted that the council must not show weakness, that the humans were already beaten. But every debate ended the same way, with arguments, with pride, and with no decision made. The galaxy was too blind to see the storm rising in front of them. Meanwhile on Earth, preparations continued in secret. Vast shipyards worked without pause. Entire planets were turned into forges, building weapons hidden from the galaxy's eyes. Scientists whispered about new engines, new armor, new weapons that bent the rules of physics. But no announcement was made. No threat was given. Humanity remained silent, and that silence became a weapon sharper than any blade. The coalition, still blind in arrogance, pushed deeper. They seized more human worlds. Yet the farther they went, the stranger the resistance became. Human colonies did not fight like others. They used traps, ambushes, sabotage. A single human freighter would lure fleets into minefields. Small fighters disappeared into asteroid belts, striking only when least expected. Even when defeated, human soldiers left behind poisoned water, broken machines, and collapsed tunnels. Nothing was surrendered whole. Every victory felt hollow, and every step forward cost more than expected. One commander of the coalition wrote in his report, It is like fighting shadows. We win every battle, but it feels as if we are losing the war. Still, the leaders ignored such words. They believed only in numbers, in fleets, in arrogance. They had not yet learned the truth. That silence is not weakness. Silence can be the sound of teeth sharpening in the dark. Then came the disappearances. Entire alien fleets, 30 or 40 ships strong, entered human space and were never seen again. No distress calls, no survivors. Just silence. The coalition tried to hide the truth, but rumors spread faster than fire. Soldiers spoke of ghost fleets. Civilians whispered of human monsters. Even the council chambers grew tense whenever the subject arose. One delegate finally stood and said what others feared to admit. This is not surrender. This is preparation. But by then it was already too late. In the stillness of space, human war machines waited unseen. In the silence of Earth, strategies were written that would break empires. And in the hearts of every human, a quiet fury burned brighter each day. The galaxy had mistaken this silence for fear, but soon they would understand. Humanity was not quiet because it was broken. Humanity was quiet because it was ready. The galaxy would look back on those months of silence with horror, for that was the calm before the storm. The first sign came without warning. At the edge of a quiet star system, a coalition fleet of 50 ships moved with confidence. Their mission was simple: push deeper into human space, capture another colony, and prove once again that humanity was weak. The alien commanders joked over their channels, mocking the silence of Earth. They believed victory was already theirs. Then the shadows moved. From behind the dark side of a moon, something massive emerged. At first, the fleet thought it was an asteroid. But then the engines came alive, blue fire roaring from colossal thrusters. A single warship appeared, larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its armor was black, sharp, and angular, drinking in the light of the stars. Along its surface, lines of energy glowed like veins of fire. The alien fleet panicked. Sensors screamed warnings. Weapons locked on the human ship, and in seconds the void filled with fire. Missiles, beams, and plasma bolts struck the hull, but the human ship did not flinch. The attacks burned against its armor like rain against stone. Then humanity answered. A single broadside lit up the darkness. Blinding lances of energy tore across space, cutting through alien ships as if they were paper. Entire cruisers split in half, their debris scattering into the void. In less than 1 minute, 10 ships were gone. The aliens tried to retreat, but the human ship was faster. Its weapons sharper, its defenses unbreakable. It was not just a ship. It was a message. Across the galaxy, reports began to flood in. Alien fleets vanishing, outposts destroyed. Human warships, massive, terrifying, unstoppable, appearing from the darkness, striking without warning and leaving nothing behind but wreckage. The silence had ended, and what followed was thunder. In the council chamber, the mood changed. The laughter was gone. The smug arrogance was gone. Fear now sat in every corner. Delegates whispered about the human fleet, about weapons no one understood, about armor that could not be broken. The warnings they had ignored now echoed louder than ever. Do not provoke us. But the coalition leaders refused to admit defeat. They rallied more fleets, gathering hundreds of ships, the largest armada the galaxy had seen in centuries. Their plan was simple: overwhelm the humans with numbers. They would crush this rebellion once and for all. The armada entered human space with pride, banners of war raised high. Yet waiting for them was silence once more. No resistance, no sign of human fleets, only the empty black of space. And then, the trap was sprung. From hidden stations, from cloaked positions, from the darkness itself, humanity struck. Waves of guided weapons ripped through the alien armada before it could even form its lines. Human warships emerged from the void, smaller than the colossal flagship, but still unlike anything seen before. They moved with impossible speed, their weapons tearing through shields as if they did not exist. Alien commanders screamed for order. Ships scattered, trying to regroup, But the humans gave them no chance. Every formation collapsed under relentless fire. Entire wings of ships vanished in white explosions. Within hours, what had been the galaxy's greatest armada became twisted wreckage drifting in the dark. The galaxy watched in horror. News spread faster than light. Humanity had crushed the invincible fleet. A species the galaxy once mocked, once dismissed as fragile and weak, had just shattered the pride of ancient empires, and humanity did not stop. One by one, coalition strongholds fell. Border worlds burned, fortresses crumbled. The humans advanced, with cold precision, destroying only what resisted, leaving behind silence and fear. They did not boast, they did not laugh. They simply marched forward, unstoppable like a force of nature. On one captured world, a human commander sent a message to the council. His voice was calm, almost quiet, but every word carried the weight of doom. You were warned. We asked for peace. You brought us war. Now you will see the cost. The galaxy trembled. The warnings were no longer echoes of the past. They were reality. Humanity had risen from silence, and in its fury, no empire was safe. The reckoning had begun. The galaxy had never seen silence like this. After the fall of the Coalition's great armada, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. News traveled faster than any fleet. Entire empires whispered in terror. Once, they had mocked the humans. Once, they had laughed at the Council's warnings. Now their laughter was gone, replaced by fear. Everywhere, people asked the same question: what will humanity do next? The answer came swiftly. Human fleets spread through the stars, striking not with wild rage, but with cold, exact precision. They did not waste fire. They did not destroy without purpose. They targeted command centers, supply depots, weapons factories. With each strike, the coalition grew weaker. Entire planets surrendered without a fight, their leaders begging for mercy before a single human ship even entered orbit. But mercy was rare. On Hallstrom, the first colony that had been taken and burned, the humans returned. They freed the survivors, but the alien occupiers were given no chance to flee. Every fortress was leveled. Every warship in orbit was turned to ash. The message was carved into the ruins. You were warned. The Galactic Council sat in dread. The same chamber that had once echoed with laughter was now heavy with silence. Delegates who had mocked humans before could no longer meet each other's eyes. Some demanded the council intervene and beg for peace. Others whispered that it was already too late, that humanity would never forgive what was done, and they were right. On the world of Terran Prime, the capital of a coalition empire, the sky turned black as human warships appeared above the clouds. The alien leaders begged for negotiations. They sent desperate signals promising to withdraw from human space, promising reparations, promising anything. But the humans did not reply. Their silence was worse than words. Then the bombardment began. The night was torn apart by fire. Towers crumbled, fortresses exploded, fleets in orbit shattered in minutes. The streets filled with screams, but no one came to save them. In only 3 days, an empire that had lasted 10,000 years was gone, erased from the stars. And still the humans advanced. The coalition collapsed, its leaders killed or fleeing into hiding. Whole civilizations that had joined the raids against Earth were forced to kneel. Some offered their fleets to humanity as tribute. Others abandoned their own worlds and fled into the dark edges of the galaxy. Yet no matter how far they ran, they could not escape the shadow of what they had unleashed. For the first time, the galaxy saw what humanity truly was. They were not the fragile, reckless children of Earth. They were survivors of a death world, shaped by fire, born from struggle, carrying in their blood the memory of endless wars. They were patient. They were relentless. And when provoked, they were merciless. At last, the council called for a final meeting. In the chamber, trembling voices begged humanity to stop. They offered treaties, promises, anything to end the storm. And for the first time in months, a human delegate returned to the floor. He stood in silence for a long moment, his eyes scanning the chamber, just as he had done before. The same delegates who had once mocked him now sat frozen, unable to breathe under his gaze. Finally he spoke, his voice calm, steady and heavy with the weight of victory. "We warned you," he said. "We told you what would happen if you provoked us. You laughed. You mocked us. And now you see the truth. We are not weak. We are not fragile. We are human. And humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive." No one answered. No one dared. The delegate turned and walked away, leaving behind silence deeper than space itself. The council knew the galaxy would never be the same. Empires that had once stood for ages had been shattered in weeks. Species that had called themselves mighty were broken. And all because they ignored a simple warning. From that day on, no one dared provoke humanity again. Children grew up with stories of the reckoning, stories told in whispers about the humans who came from a small blue world and brought empires to their knees. Entire generations would remember the lesson written in fire across the stars. The price had been paid, and in the shadows of space, humanity returned to its silence, not out of weakness, but out of strength. The galaxy finally understood what that silence meant. It meant humanity was watching. It meant humanity was waiting. And if ever provoked again, the stars themselves would burn.